and welcome everyone to London Green Party's hustings this afternoon. I want to first of all thank all the participants, the candidates who are standing, who have made the time to come and speak to London Greens. And I also want to welcome all those London Greens who have tuned in to listen. Now, we're starting off with a series of candidate speeches. We're going to start with the candidates for chair, and then we're moving to management coordinator, election coordinator, and finally the external comms role. Each of those candidates will speak for 2 minutes each. When we move to each post, I will list the candidates who are going to be speaking in the order that they speak. Banali is kindly managing the clock, and Banali, can you just do your hand signal just so people are clear? When Banali does that, it means you've got 30 seconds left, but at least we won't be interrupting you physically as you're speaking. We're going to start with the candidates for chair. We have 4 candidates. We have Liz Reason, Ewan Jones, Adrian Spurrell, Benjamin Smith, and Ashley Routh. Now, Benjamin and Ashley are a co-candidate, and just one of them will be speaking for the opening speech. So if I can start, but Banali, if you're ready with the clock, with Liz Reason, who is our first candidate for chair of the party.
Thank you very much. My primary objective as GPEX chair over the last 2 years has been to enable the party to make a step change in its size, capacity and achievements to build on our electoral successes to date. What have I done so far in terms of moving to deliver those goals? First, I have been professionalising operations by appointing an experienced chief executive and supporting them to build a team of committed, talented staff to deliver on the party's ambitions. Second, developing the fundraising strategy through the new development committee, where we're aiming to attract more money from a wide range of appropriate sources to meet one of the party's biggest challenges, our limited budget. And thirdly, I've aimed to improve decision-making. The holistic review passed with a big majority, but is yet to be implemented. I want to see this through to modernise the party's governance arrangements. I'm pleased to say that at its meeting last Saturday, GPEX agreed to invest in a replacement for Civi and associated digital tools, which will transform how the national and local parties engage with members, manage their membership subscriptions, and so on. If I'm elected for a further 2 years, I will concentrate on those 3 areas which are already underway. First, building on the work being undertaken through Project Together, establishing through research what we need to do to ride the green wave, to be perceived as a credible political threat, and to understand and cement our role as the political wing of the environment and social justice movements. Second, increasing income and financial sustainability are essential so we can invest in the field team, further campaign schools, training and support for councillors, candidates and governance body members, and identifying and nurturing a cohort of potential diverse candidates to be ready for the next election. I will also aim to open up conversations within the party using the principles of non-violent communication. And I'm going to stop there because actually I'm reading and I can't see if Banal is doing his hand waving thing. So I'll just stop there.
Thank you very much, Liz. And we'll now move on to Ewan Jones.
Thanks, Caroline. Hello, everyone. I'm Ewan Jones. I'm currently chair and coordinator of the South West Green Party. I'm also chair of Bruton Town Council in Somerset and mayor of Bruton, or Brutopia as we like to call it locally. I encourage you all to vote for me as first preference for chair of GPEX for 3 reasons. 1, I will guide GPEX to efficiently make good green decisions. 2, I will bring GPEX together to work cooperatively and constructively to maximise our party's political impact. And 3, I will bring all the experience that I've gained, re-energising and refocusing South West Green Party since 2015, and bringing a more human and open style of chairing to Bruton Town Council since last February, to bear in focusing GPEX on delivering its constitutional responsibilities. Some South West Green Party highlights since I was asked to take over as coordinator following the 2015 general election. We have streamlined the party's work in support of our regional field organiser to professionalise our elections approach across the region. In addition, we've sent many South West activists, about 3 a year, to the new campaign school, together resulting in so many, with the field organiser, so many councillors getting elected. We currently stand at 68 in our region out of the national total of 357. 3 of our best results have been 11% in the 2017 West of England Metro Mayor, which is the best Green mayoral vote ever by a distance. Secondly, returning Molly Scott-Cato as our South West MEP last May with 18% of the vote, the best ever also by a distance, and also 25% for Carla Denyer in Bristol West on December the 12th, which is the second best outside Brighton after our 2015 Bristol West result. We've also succeeded in building strong collegiate relationships with many current and former GPEX officers, and I look forward to taking all questions from London members this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to invite Adrian Spurrell to give his 2-minute introduction. And for anyone who's just joined, these are candidates for chair of the party.
Thank you.
Adrian.
Hi, my name's Adrian Spurrell, and I'm asking you to please vote for me for chair of GPEX as your first choice. I'm currently secretary of GPRC, and one of the things that's come to my attention, well, it doesn't come to my attention from that, but is the need for the Green Party to become a viable force in British politics, to become a real powerhouse. We've got 10 years left to actually make a significant impact on climate breakdown, and if we don't seize this opportunity, it will be something that we all regret for a very long time. If you make me chair, I'm going to focus on 3 key areas. The first is to continue the work in improving the infrastructure of the party. That means overhauling our IT, putting in place world-class fundraising, growing our field team, sorting out our processes and streamlining them as well, so that we have the right infrastructure that enables all of your activities to have the maximum impact. If it's not there, we're just running with our shoelaces tied. Secondly, we have to increase our membership appeal. We have to make more people want to become Green Party members, and more Green Party members want to become active. We need to engage with them and hear what our members want better and involve them in the direction more acutely and more tangibly. And crucially, we have to allow and create a culture whereby we can have passionate political arguments in a safe way and with respect for each other. Finally, the last key element is about building external allies. We've not been good about leveraging all the other green activist and groups around the country. If we can get them saying that if you want green change, you must vote for the Green Party, then that increases our voice massively. And there's a huge group of allies that we're not leveraging, and we need to sort that out. We have to get to become a really effective organisation. I've got over 20 years of experience in helping organisations run better. If you make me your first choice, I will bring this experience and my energy to bear to help the Green Party become the force it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, for our final chair candidate is 2 people, Benjamin Smith and Ashley Routh. And I think it's Benjamin speaking.
Yes,
fantastic. If you could go, that'd be great.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending. My name is Benjamin Smith. I'm a London Green Party member, former deputy of the Welsh Green Party, and I'm standing alongside Ashley Routh, who is a Green Party activist in Sheffield and former parish councillor. Between us, we've been members across the party in most of the regions. We hope to get to all of them eventually, but for now, we've got about 80% done. We'll get there at some point. Our key focus points, there's 4 of them for how we want to run chair. First of all, we want to see increased transparency with the way that GPEX is run and the way that we work as a party. Lots of people in the party would sort of see GPEX as something that is away from them. They don't understand what it does, who's involved, and that has to change. That also involves overhauling and looking at the disciplinary process to make it more accountable, easily accessible, and doing things like devolving more power to the region so things can get fixed at a local level rather than everything being pushed to the National Party. As part of this, we also want to ensure that everybody who's part of GPEX, every part of the leadership team is informed of due process and follows the rules we set down as a party. There have been a few instances in recent years where that hasn't happened. We need to take stock of that, understand why these things happen and move forward from it. Another key aspect of what we want to see happen is more inclusion. We feel that certain voices in this party aren't raised up enough. Liberation groups and such, we need to work more with them, we need to listen to them, we need to respect them, and that hasn't happened enough at the moment. So more of that needs to be put in place so we can move forward as a group together and make our party the party it needs to be. And finally, our fourth point is we want to see some more modernisation. The way we communicate as a party feels very early 2000s compared to where we are now. We need to look at how we communicate members, reducing the number of emails that are going out and using other mediums to communicate information to people who need it. I know I've heard recently that the party website's being looked at, so that's good news, but I'd like to see that happen as soon as possible. A vote for me and Ash is a vote for a modern, transparent and forward-thinking party, so I hope you give us our first preference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and all bang on time, so that's great. So the next speeches are going to be from our management coordinator candidates. So that is Matt Brown and Florence Pollock, who are one candidate. I think, is it Matt or Florence speaking for this opening speech?
We're going to try and do a minute each, if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm going to try and time myself.
I hope you will. We'll be timing you too. And the other candidate is Richard Bierman. So we'll start with Matt Brown and Florence Pollock, and I'm starting the clock now.
Hi, I'm Florence and I'm standing with Matt Brown for the position of Management Coordinator. I'm just going to briefly cover our experience. So I've worked in HR for the past 3 years and I currently work at a charity. And I've also got line management experience in my previous work. Within the Green Party, I've been on the Young Greens Executive Committee, the London Young Greens Executive Committee, and I was Deputy Chair of the Disciplinary Committee, which I was on for 3 years for the National Party. So I have quite a lot of experience internally and externally. I'm also active in my local Green Party and standing in a target ward for the 2022 local elections. Matt Brown was previously the governance manager at the Green Party and he now works at a charity, and he has also been a candidate in local elections and previously been the co-chair of his local party. Matt, over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, that's our experience. In terms of vision, what we're standing to do, we think there is an opportunity with our HR and processes to actually do much better than business as usual, not a business as usual party, and to demonstrate that actually radicalism and professionalism can go together and that they burn all the brighter when they are together. So we'll talk more later about what that will involve, but there's little things like getting our trade union genuinely involved in all staff and GPEX decision making. It's making sure that all roles can be worked from home to open it up to people from different backgrounds. That will not only make the party more inclusive, but will also make sure it works better. And that's my time. Thank you.
Still got 30 seconds. The hand waving means 30 seconds. Sorry, that was just your pre-warning.
That's fine. Okay, we'll just quickly then to emphasise that last point, that not only will it make the Green Party more inclusive of all groups, but actually this radical approach to our process in HR will make us more effective as a party at winning more councillors and getting more green voices in the room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and perfectly on time, despite the interruption. Richard Bierman now, who is our second candidate for Management Coordinator. Richard, over to you.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm Richard Bierman, standing for the post of Management Coordinator, not as a job share. I've been a member of the Green Party for nearly 20 years and held various positions in the party, including 5 years as Norwich Coordinator and 4 years, 2 terms on GPRC in the early 2000s. I'm active in my local party. I'm still a target ward coordinator and party treasurer. I also was a Norfolk County Councillor for the Green Party for 8 years up until 2017 and led that Green Party group on the county for most of that time. During that time, we used our position on the council to influence the direction. Despite being 4 out of 84 councillors, Greens can make a big difference at all levels on all councils. And I was involved as group leader with senior council officers in recruiting, both for directors of adult social services and children's services. I've held other voluntary positions in charities and NGOs, including a trusteeship for 10 years on a large national charity. I'm currently chair of the Grapes Hill Community Garden, just come from their event this afternoon, so a bit puffed, but cycled down 3 miles from the city centre out back to get online with you this afternoon. In addition to that, I've had some industry experience previously. As far as personnel matters goes, I was involved in personnel both professionally in my business, which I ran for 15 years as an independent consultancy, and also I've been line managing local staff for the Green Party at the local level. I think that kind of difference between industry and charities and NGOs and political parties is really important. I would also want to, as GPEX member, work collaboratively very much with other members of GPEX. A governance organisation makes decisions as a body, not as individuals. So it's important that we can work collectively and with consensus. I believe I can play a key role in moving the party forwards by working that and holding the senior managers and the chief executive to account. We have done some organisational change in the Green Party with appointing more staff. There's a lot more to go to make it a better organisation fit for the 21st century.
Thank you very much. Slightly over, but we've forgiven you. So we're now going to move on to the speeches from the election coordinator candidates. I understand we have apologies from Zoe Nicholson, Lewis Williams, we have Kai Taylor and Joe Levy. So we'll start with Lewis Williams.
Hello, I'm Lewis. Before I tell you my plan, I'd like to tell you the story of how I got here. I started my Green Party journey in 2015, knocking on doors and delivering leaflets. And in my case, it was for Lynn Paterson in Bath. And that feeling you get when your hard work pays off and you get a Green elected just cannot be beaten. And I'm sure you'd agree. And after this, I was hooked. Then I attended campaign school and afterwards became the West of England Metro Mayor's campaign manager. This campaign won us the current record number of votes for any mayoral election, and it makes me the only candidate standing who has experience of running a mayoral election, experience that we need in GPEX. In the same year, I was the campaign manager in Bath in the general election. And this was a grueling slog against the Lib Dems, but it did not shake my determination to get more Greens elected. In 2019, I took this up a level and ran the Bristol West campaign. We worked flat out for 7 weeks, and as Greens do, we adapted, overcame and fought to bring us one step closer to that second Green MP. And while we didn't win, we moved back into second place. But I will never forget that first count in 2015, that pure feeling of getting Lynn elected. And since then, my goal has never changed to get more Greens elected. It's just scaled up. I've told you this to show that I've fought in every level of election that this party has faced. I have slogged, fought through challenges against all opposing parties and come out stronger because of it. So here's my plan in short. To achieve this, we need to be putting into place an action plan to get Greens elected onto every council by 2030 and running at least 5 councils. To do this, I support expanding our campaign school programme, getting it into the regions at a more local level, and using the fantastic example of London's In It to Win It programme, which saw such wonderful gains in 2018. Also, to introduce a plan that increases the diversity in our candidates for elections so we can better represent all of England and Wales. These are bold ambitions, but I believe we have to be bold to see real change. So please cast your vote for me, Lewis Williams, to become your elections coordinator on the 3rd of August. Thank you.
Benali, are you still doing the waving to people when they've got 30 minutes left?
I did.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So our next candidate, thank you, Lewis, is Kai Taylor. Kai.
Oh, so we've currently not got Kai. I'm just messaging to see if there's a problem. But can you?
We'll move on to Joe Levy.
Yes, please.
Hello, my name's Joe Levy and I am one half of the Lorien Levy Double Act, which we've affectionately referred to ourselves as. We're running for elections coordinator. We've both been members for 6 years and we both stood at a local level and at a parliamentary level. We come from very different areas. Laurie is a borough councillor for a deeply conservative area and won with an extraordinary 60% of the vote last year. I've been a campaign organiser in an inner city Labour ward in Exeter, in Devon, where we won with 55% of the vote and just shy of 1,500 votes last year. So we're standing, I think, because we felt that as a team, because we represent such vastly different parts of the country, that the role of election coordinator needs people who have perspective on the variety of different kinds of elections that we have as a country and the variety of different needs that each local party will have. I actually come from London originally, and that was actually the time I joined the Green Party when I lived in Ealing, and that very much informed my perception of the Green Party as a whole. So I'm very keen to see the Green Party succeed in the Assembly and mayoral elections next year. But the question is, what do we need to do as a party to achieve that? Last year was a record year, and I'm hearing a lot of local parties saying, fantastic, we've won councillors, we've won seats, but how do we sustain that? And so my background is in capacity building. So I built a team of about 100 volunteers in Exeter from about 20. And we've got a fantastic team of people in Exeter who manage those now. Whereas Laurie's been really focused on supporting local parties and councillors with their election campaigns. As Lewis has mentioned, we'd like to expand Campaign School, and we'd like to ensure that that support is sustained. So we want to ensure that the finances for that are maintained. We also want to ensure that local parties have the resources they need. So having a look at the resources that are currently available for election campaigns and working with the local and regional parties to update those. Ultimately, we want people to see the National Green Party not as a separate figurehead, but that we're all part of the same party, working together with our different needs and interests. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Finale, do we have Kai Taylor?
Not currently. I'll let you know if she's able to join.
Okay, so in which case we're going to move on to the external comms role, and we have two candidates, Molly Scott-Cato and Peter Underwood. We'll go to Molly first, please. Molly, you've got 2 minutes to give your opening.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Well, I think the main reason I'm standing, well, there's two sides to this. One side is wanting to be a member of the executive, and the other side is wanting to be the external comms member of the executive. So while I was an MEP, I became aware that things weren't working very well at GPEX. In fact, it was finding it difficult to make good and timely decisions. And so now I've got the time, I wanted to offer what I can to improve the way GPEX actually works. So I've taught leadership, management and strategy in the university, and I think that's given me knowledge that will be useful. I've also worked a lot in cooperative studies and in cooperatives themselves, and I think we could do with being more cooperative on the executive. So hopefully those things will be useful. Obviously, communicating with the public is absolutely vital for us as a political party, and I'd like us to use the external comms function more effectively to connect with different groups, especially the groups and communities who are so mobilised and energised right now, whether that's the Youth Strikers for Climate or the Black Lives Matter movement. It's clear that most voters only know about the Green Party and about green policies because of the work of our excellent media team, and we do have very good staff in place now. But I'm not sure that they have the strategy that they need to really use our resources and in the best way and get the best impact for our messages. So there's 3 skills I think I have which will be able to help improve that. Firstly, during my 6 years as an MEP, I built up a network of media contacts, and I've developed a good understanding of how political media works. Secondly, I've been a Green Party member for a very long time, 30 years now, and I think during that time I've developed political sensitivity and nous, and I know what's a story and how to present a story. And thirdly, I think that I do have good connections across the party. I know a lot of people in the liberation groups, and I'd really like to bring them forward and make sure we have more diversity in the people who represent us in the public eye, both through our liberation groups and also through reworking the spokesperson list. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Molly. That's great. And on to Peter Underwood. Peter, you've got 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, my name is Peter Underwood. We have very limited resources in the Green Party, we know that, which is why it's so important that when we do have opportunities to speak, we do get points in the press, that we make sure our messages hit home. Unfortunately, at the moment, they're not. We know everybody loves our policies. They rate them far higher than the other parties, but it's not translating into votes. So, I mean, there's three key factors that I think we need to work on. The first is we need to connect with people on an emotional level. Most of our messaging is far too intellectual, but people vote on what they feel, not necessarily on what they think. So I think we need to get to people's hearts as well as their heads, and not just the negative emotions of being scared about climate change or being negative about how dreadful this government is. We need to present a positive image of what the Green Party is, what a green future would look like, so that people have something positive to look for and they can aspire to and inspire them in terms of voting for us. We also need to talk to people about what they care about, not just talk to them about what we care about. We need to sort of focus on the issues that are coming up that people are sort of speaking about in their regular conversations to show what the Green Party perspective on those issues is. And that leads on to my third point about us being much more nimble and adaptable in terms of our communications. As an example, recently, the Russia report. I still couldn't find out what the Green Party position was or the answer was to the Russia report. We knew that was coming up. We should have answered far quicker. In terms of my background, I spent years working in Westminster with politicians, so I'm used to working with politicians, helping them to present messages and themselves a lot better, which is very similar to this role. And I have a Master's in Business Administration, and I've managed in the public and private and charity sectors. So in terms of the management side of GPEX, I can bring that experience to this role as well.
Thank you very much, Peter, and thank you, everyone. Banali, can I just confirm that we don't have Kai Taylor coming?
No, I can't see so currently.
Not at the moment. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next part, which is the questions. And I have two questions that have come in advance, which I'm going to give you both questions, and I gather you have 2 minutes each. 2 minutes to answer the two questions. So it's up to you how you share your 2 minutes out. The questions are, if elected, how do you envision supporting London Green Party to deliver their most successful elections ever at the London Assembly and Mayor elections next year? And the second question is, who do you think most models good leadership and why? So that's the two questions. And we are going to start, should we go through everyone in the same order, Banali, that we started in before?
We could reverse it.
We could, in which case, Pete, are you ready to go? 2 minutes, and
well, I better be.
you want me to repeat the questions?
No, that's fine.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Off you go.
In terms of London Green Party, many of you will know me because I'm a member of London Green Party and I've been involved in our campaigns, and I'm one of the candidates. So in terms of that, I'm already embedded as part of this campaign. And at the last London Green Party officers meeting, I offered to Andy Moore that regardless of whether I'm elected or not, I'm very happy to be involved in the campaign, to go through our messaging, and the sorts of things I just talked about is making sure we're saying the right things in the right way so we can hit home and get a consistent thread through all of our messaging, through the manifestos, through our press releases, through speeches, and the work that Caroline and Sean already do on the London Assembly, which is fantastic, but amplifying all of that to create that coherent critical mass of building the green vote in London. And yes, we should be getting far more Assembly members elected, and maybe even a mayor. That would be nice. In terms of models of leadership, I don't believe in leadership. I come from an anarchist background. I believe that power comes from the bottom up. And so I don't like, in management terms, the Stackelberg theory of leadership and the leader should be setting the agenda. I think the opposite. The more Taoist approach, the more sort of Sun Tzu of that you lead from the back, that actually you create the framework so that the members can lead in terms of how we do stuff. And that's very much my way of working. It's that collaborative, bringing people in so that actually we allow the membership to lead and we move together collectively and as a consensus.
Thank you very much, Peter. So Molly, and I've put the questions in the chat so all the panelists can see them.
Well, I guess if I was a politician, I would say that all the media focus should be on London from now on, because obviously London is the most important place in the country, and the mayoral and assembly elections are the most important elections we're going to be fighting next year. But you know what? I don't actually think that's true. We've got a lot of important elections across the country. I think we're more likely to win a mayor in Bristol than we are in London. So I think we need to prioritise our media attention, our media time and resources on where we're going to get the best outcomes. Obviously, the London elections are really important, and I can see ways in which we can create synergies between what we want to say as our messages and how we can support the candidates in London. And as I already said, one of the things about the spokespeople list is that one of the key criteria that needs to be used in choosing those people is that lead candidates get a particular status in terms of having roles, and that's not worked very well. Also, we could have a lot more spokespeople like the Labour Party do and create these sort of golden crowns for them to give them more status. On the leadership question, that's really funny because I also like the Taoist style of leadership, but I do also appreciate great leaders, and I'm glad I'm the first one to name one, because I'm going to say Jacinda Ardern, and everybody else is going to be cursing me because they wanted to say that as well. Why I think she's great is because she works in a cooperative way and she models good behaviour rather than telling other people what to do, which I think is really important in leadership. She embodies the kind of politician people want to have. She's honest, she's warm, she's always very clear in her messaging, and for that reason you believe that she's got your interests at heart. Basically, what we need in leadership right now is people who are responsive but are also prepared to take a risk and to go ahead, and that's quite difficult to achieve. At the moment we've got populist leaders who are in this for their own interests, but she's a good example of somebody who models good leadership but who has the interests of the people at heart.
Thank you very much, Molly. Bang on time. And next we are going to the election coordinator candidates. So we have Lewis Williams, and then we have Joe Levy. Lewis Williams.
Hey, thank you. And hope everyone forgives me, but I'll probably be shorter on the second question, the first one, because I absolutely love elections. So forgive me for that. But I'm going to name someone, I'll be the second one to name someone then, and I'm going to perhaps slightly controversially go for Abraham Lincoln. Reason for this is that he shows, I can see Molly laughing and grinning at me, please stop, you're going to put me off, but it shows that he can listen, adapt, and is not too stubborn, but also has a vision. And I always think in a leader that's really important is being a sort of visionary type person that can take and guide and has a purpose. But also can share stories, and that just inspires people. And for me, that's why Abraham Lincoln stands out. Now onto my preferred topic of talking about elections. So to start, how I would support London Green Party in the London Assembly and mayoral elections is by starting the ground running. Like, I've actually, the only candidate, like I said in my start, is I'm the only candidate that's run a mayoral election. I currently hold the record for the most votes in a mayoral election. And it's actually a record which I really want to see London Green Party beat. And in part of doing this, that's so I can start the ground running. But there's also, when it comes to mayoral elections, they're completely different beasts. It's exactly the same with a London Assembly one. So when we were running the West of England mayoral campaign, we would run what was more of an air campaign. So if you imagine sort of your rugby sort of side of things, is that you just kick that ball up in the air. You need to get it from the back all the way to the front. You keep it running and all eyes on it. That's by making bold statements. And that's what we need to be doing in London, across the country, is making those bold statements. I'm not going to be wasting time and needing to learn and understand how a mayoral election works. I've already run one, and you get an expert knowledge if you choose to elect me as your first choice. And finally, is that we need to highlight our competency, because that's so important. We're really well trusted by the public, but we just need to come across as a lot more competent. We do that by getting more Greens elected, highlighting our good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now Joe Levy.
Thank you. So I think for us, the key thing is that elections coordinator is an executive position, but that doesn't mean instructing local parties or regional parties what to do. It means facilitating them. And I think the first thing that I would want to do with Laurie is we really want to have a meeting with the London Green Party to identify what you actually need and what resources we have available to provide that. I don't think it's any point in me as someone who doesn't live in London trying to presume what is necessary. And also London is more than one city. It's a composite of hundreds and hundreds of villages effectively that work as independent communities. And so each local party is going to have to understand how their messaging is going to fit with their specific local area. So I think it's really key that we start by meeting with you and identifying what we can do, and not just, I think, working out what London as a whole needs, but where are the different needs and what resources need to be put in place to maximise our strengths. So I won't talk too much about that because otherwise I'd be just talking out of nothing. In terms of leadership, so this is probably a bit of a cop-out wishy-washy answer, but I think that I don't like to idolise people as particular models of leadership. Not that I disapprove of anyone else doing it, but I think because I think there's lots of different types of leadership, and I think we can all model it in our own lives. But I think the most important thing is that no leader is worth more than the sum of the supporters that are behind them, and that every leader must remember that they are an advocate, they are not a representative, and they are not speaking on behalf of, because ultimately it is all of us as a movement that need to be speaking up and being leaders within our own movement. So there you go, wishy-washy answer on the table.
Thank you very much, and all good and to time. So now we go to the management coordinator candidates, and we'll start with Matt Brown and Florence Pollock. 2 minutes.
We're going to answer one each. So how are we going to support in the London elections? So I think the main thing in our role as management coordinator would be to ensure that we're supporting the people that are running the campaigns and the staff team to make sure that they're all able to do their jobs properly, they're not getting really stressed out and really bogged down with things they don't need to be doing when they're concentrating on running an election campaign. Matt and I both live in London, so we will be taking part in the campaign, and as a candidate myself for the 2022 council elections, I'll be playing quite an active part in the campaign in London. Over to Matt.
Thank you. In terms of leadership model, I'm going to choose a radical Londoner, Clement Attlee. I think there's a couple of things I'd flag about him. First of all, you know, his activism was based on his lived experience and his time as a young man working in the East End before the First World War, but also he was collegiate when he was in power. He had a cabinet that he balanced different personalities and made sure that they did the best things they could, making best use of their different talents. And then a really crucial point about him in terms of his style, he wasn't someone who shouted and raved and really, you know, started attacking people. He just quietly and forcefully made the moral case that all politics should be about relieving misery. I think that's what should be at the core of our green politics. It's just that simple question, where is misery and how we can relieve it? And that's what Clement Attlee did. And when we look at making a transformational change, and we're making a change on a scale even bigger than the creation of the NHS and the welfare state, we need to start looking to that example of Clement Attlee and leadership like that, where you have a focus on compassion, which is relentlessly followed through, and it delivers things which makes people's lives a lot better. And we can do that as Greens 70 years later. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, and marvellously on time again. So we now go to Richard Bierman.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroline. The first question, London Assembly and Mayor elections, really important elections for the Green Party. And yes, I will be doing all I can to support them. I probably won't be coming personally much to London. My role on GPEX and in the Eastern region will be better mobilising others. And one of the things I will say about London, that's a huge advantage compared with the rest of the country. All the train lines go there from everywhere, so you can at least get there, to the extent that when we used to have physical Eastern region meetings, King's Cross Station was our most preferred location for people because it's the only one they can access by public transport from all parts of the East. Getting from Norwich to Peterborough is a bit of a nightmare by public transport. So that's what I would do, is help pay and facilitate those who want to go, encourage them and support them financially if they can't manage it. Modelling good leadership, several good examples in the Green Party. My favourite style of leadership is the one where you ask the people being led what they like. And I did that when I worked as a council group. It's always about collaboration and consensus as far as I'm concerned. but I modelled myself a lot on Adrian Ramsey, former deputy leader of the Green Party, when he led the Green Group on Norwich City Council. And there's a headline in the Norwich Evening News, a bit parochial, but it says when he was leader of the Hung Council Group, Norwich in the hands of a 22-year-old. So I immediately wrote back saying, what's wrong with that? It sounds like a really good thing to have. We should have more young people in politics. Signed, Richard Bearman, age 55. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will go to the chair candidates for their answers to the questions, and we'll start with Liz Reason. Liz, you're still on mute.
I'll start with London. I am no elections expert, so I'm not going to talk about what the electoral strategy should be, but I do know what we have been doing as GPEX. And first of all, that was to provide some funds to London, but certainly not sufficient. But what we've been able to do is to provide fundraising support so that London can raise its own funds using an expert in whom we have a lot of faith. I've also been talking to the regional organizer about the use of online training and workshops because that's been so successful using Zoom over the last few months. And this is something people have really bought into, and I think it would be a great way to develop the volunteer capacity in London. I hope we might be able to do some of the online events that we've been doing as part of Project Together, which are specifically London focused and been very successful. And of course, we'll be helping with the appointment of a new London campaign organizer, which you'll need a replacement in September. As to leadership model, well, I have to say, I feel a bit stumped because I clearly don't think about, who do I think is a marvelous leader or have thought historically, perhaps because one tends so often to end up disappointed in what leaders prove to be. So I'm actually just going to pick on Caroline Lucas, because she's a huge asset to the party. And the reasons are she's authentic, she's credible, and she's human, and she generates huge energy and loyalty for us. So, that's where I am going to make my choice.
Thank you very much, Liz. So our next candidate to speak is Ewan Jones. Ewan, you've got 2 minutes.
Thank you, Caroline. So starting with London, you're doing a lot right. I was fortunate to see a presentation by your campaign organiser, Andy Moore, who I believe is the mayoral campaign organiser at the Regional Development Conference. And Andy took us through your great development programme using Action Network following the West Midlands model, which is targeting on funding a full-time member of staff for every 1,000 members. It's something we've been working on the Southwest, like learning from the West Midlands best practice. And if you could have, for the 8,000 members in London, 1 per 1,000, you'll have 8 members of staff. You've got fantastic campaign managers and campaign organisers out there. We will back that from the centre by putting the right national election strategy in place, refresh that, and the political strategy that's been overdue since we shot through the 300 councillor target last May. For leadership, I'm going to actually go for a personal boss when I broadened from being like an economic commercial consultant to a brand and a brand strategy consultant, and it was a New York ad guy called Ken. And in that business, there were basically 2 sides. There was the strategist like myself, and then there were the creatives who designed logos and built things. What Ken did is he trusted everyone to be brilliant at their jobs. And a chairing GPEX is a lot like that. It's trust the campaigns people to be campaigns people, the spokespeople to be spokespeople, the elections people to be elections people. He lived the philosophy of my personal political hero, Nive Evan, which is the purpose of power is to give it away. And if I pick on a recent one, I'd go for Christiana Figueres, who in the Paris COP21 conference, she built the bottom-up British approach. She stopped trying to be top-down. Bottom-up works, and bottom-up is a very Green Party philosophy. And I love what she did.
Thank you very much indeed. And again, beautifully on time. Can I now move to Adrian Spurrell?
Thank you. So London, I think there are three key things in respect of London. One is, what are you already doing that needs amplification? You know, you're already running the campaign. You've been working on it before COVID intervened and delayed things. So what needs can the National Party do to echo and amplify what you're already doing? Second will obviously be about funding. In what way can we raise central funds to actually support what you're doing? But as others have said, you're not alone. You aren't the only area that's actually going to be running elections next year, and we have to look at how that resourcing gets spread across the whole country and actually targets all the areas where we can maximise our impact as a party. And that is an important balancing act between looking at where we can get the most impact, where we can get the most publicity, and what's going to drive our cause forward fastest. And I just really want to echo the point Molly made about the need for having well-resourced, supported and researched spokespeople that we can use as platforms to get really great candidates into those positions. I think that's really important. Moving on to best leader ever. That's really difficult because no leader is without their flaws. Excuse me. And like a number of others have said, I think adults are perfectly capable of leading themselves if they're given the space and the opportunity to actually do so. What we tend to do is spend so much of our time telling people that they're children, and then we're completely surprised when they behave that way as well. That said, I have a softness for Obama. I loved his warmth. I loved the way he actually listened. More to the point, I love the way he got thousands of people excited, mobilized and bought into his vision, and crucially won twice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adrian. And finally, we have Benjamin Smith and Ashley Ralph. I don't know if you're both going to...
I'm going to take a question each.
I'm taking the first one.
Okay.
So I like many of the members here, I'm from London, and I'll be looking forward to getting involved at a grassroots level in the London campaigns next year and beyond that. I'd like to echo what's been said already, in that what's really important is that we have the funding in place and the staff in place and the support in place for all parties across the country, London and others. Next year is going to be an absolutely mad time for elections in May across the UK for us. So we have to make sure that we are part of that. London is part of that, but make sure everyone's got what they need. And I'll quickly throw out a leader that I particularly like for Ash to talk tomorrow, and one of my favourites currently is the current Prime Minister of Iceland, Katrin Jakobsdóttir. But yeah, I'll pass on to Ash to talk more about that.
For me, strong model of good leadership, you don't have to look outside of the Green Party for that. I'd like to take a minute just to maybe throw a spotlight on Tina Rothery. Tina is one of the anti-fracking mums in the Northwest, and she was definitely incredibly inspirational to me personally in my journey through the party. She showed me what it means to be a really effective, really dedicated campaigner. She gave absolutely everything she had to that cause. They won, which was absolutely amazing. She's really inspirational. She's done so much in the Northwest. She doesn't seek to speak over people. She doesn't seek to, she doesn't really seek positions of power. She's never run for leadership in the party. But I think she's an amazing example of the sort of people that we should be looking to for leadership in the party. She's a real inspiration. Everything she's done has always impressed me. I think if we had a whole party of Tina Rotherys, we would be absolutely storming the elections.
Thank you. Yes, what a good note to end on. Yes, the idea of a whole party of Tina Rotherys is quite overwhelming. So everyone, I'm afraid we are completely out of time. So I am just going to remind everyone who is standing for which positions. So for chair, we have had Liz Reason, Ewan Jones, Adrian Spurrell, Benjamin Smith and Ashley Ralph standing as a job chair. For external comms, we've had Molly Scott-Cato and Peter Underwood. For management coordinator, we've had Matt Brown and Florence Pollock as a job chair, and Richard Bierman. We've had for election coordinator, Zoe Nicholson not here and Kai Taylor not here, but Lewis Williams and Joe Levy have been here. Thank you so much to all of you, and thank you for humouring the London question. That was much appreciated, as it was a London hustings. And thank you so much for your time, giving your time up on a Sunday afternoon. I know everyone is incredibly busy and fitting in loads and loads of things. So it's hugely, hugely appreciated. So just thank you to all of you. I can't really do the clapping thing, but thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Right, just in terms of process, we're going to have a quick 5-minute comfort break, and then we're going to be in the process of changing over the panelists to the next tranche of attendees. For any of the panelists who were in the first hour and would like to stay, I will downgrade you to an attendee so you can continue to listen. Yeah, basically you're going to watch me do quite a bit of clicking. It's all very exciting.
Thanks all.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, Benali, for your help.
Thank you. Right.
Okay.
On to the next tranche.
On to the next tranche. I think we're still being broadcast, or potentially. So.
We are indeed. Yeah. So we feel free to entertain the audience while they're waiting. Any jokes would be welcome, or gymnastic displays. I think
I'll just have a glass of water. And so, Benali, just so I'm clear, we'll run this second bit exactly as we've done the first.
Yeah, and the London question extends to the next tranche of candidates as well.
Okay. So have we got even more candidates for this second half?
Hey. Hi, 5 minutes ago. Sorry? Yeah. I mean, I think they're just reconnecting everyone. Everything gone black here, but they just said they're reconnecting us. You've got a comfort break. So yeah, no, I should be in, no problem. So anyway, you've got a minute, I've got a minute, and then
Owen, perhaps you could mute. Oh, you have.
I did it.
Has everyone got their name up? There's one person who's got headphones who doesn't have a name up.
Oh, it's Danny. I can't see name. Right. I'm just checking. Have I got everyone?
Britta.
Do you already know what the order is? Because I'm with the kids, and if I still sit here for an hour, it will be exhausting.
Don't worry. When we get started, I'll be going through the order, so I'll let you know what the order is. We could
always move campaigns first.
Coordinator first. We'll do campaigns coordinator first, so long as no one else objects. But that would that be most helpful to you?
Yeah, perfect. That would be great. If everybody's here, then if not, I mean, if the others not, because I can't see Hannah at the moment.
Yes, I'm just seeing if I can see Hannah.
Yeah, if Hannah's not there yet, then we could also. I would also be happy to go at the end.
Oh, okay. Let's just see if Hannah gets in.
okay. Just a quick sound check. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
All good, Owen.
Owen, we can hear you. That's all very
all right,
good.
Good. Yeah. All right, I'll put myself on mute then.
That's great.
Just to say, Caroline, we've got apologies from Julia Lagut, who's got caring responsibilities, unfortunately.
Okay.
And Sam Alston, who is one of the policy candidates, I think is coming a little bit later because of work. So I did say we could potentially leave policy development to the end.
Hold on, policy development at the end. That makes sense. It's at the bottom of my list anyway. So, and we've got apologies. Okay.
Well done, past me.
Do we have everyone else here?
I can't see Hannah. I think that's it.
Okay, should we text Hannah very quickly just to check if she's joining?
Yes, I can be in charge of that. I'm juggling many things with this event.
If you could manage that, that would be very marvelous.
Oh. I'm just, Hannah's got in touch. She's having some technical difficulties, so I'm just going to send her another invite.
Okay, so in which case, Britta, we can do, it's Hannah's just in the process of joining, so we will be able to do campaigns coordinator first. Benali, is this available to everyone who's in the meeting, or are we still backstage?
And obviously we're very much live to everyone.
We're very much live, okay, that's...
Jack's just having issues, he's rejoining.
Okay.
Do we think Hannah's getting in?
Well, I'm just sending her an invite, so it's taking, I would maybe start, but not put campaigns first, but second.
Britta, we're going to put campaigns second, if that's okay. Okay, so in which case I am going to start us off. First of all, I want to thank every single one of our panelists who has, the candidates who have given up their Sunday afternoon to join us here with London Green Party. It is hugely appreciated that you have taken the time to talk to London Greens specifically, and so I just really want to thank you and any partners or family members who've given you up for the afternoon. Thank you very much indeed. So this is the second half of our London Green Party hustings. I'm Caroline Russell, and I'm chairing with Benali Hamdash, who is going to be doing the timing for each of the opening speeches. Now we're going to have a 2-minute opening speech from each candidate. We will start off with the candidates for international coordinator, and then we'll go to the campaigns coordinator, then publications, then trade union liaison, and then policy development coordinator. At the start of each section for a particular role, I will read out the names of all the candidates so that everyone knows who the candidates are for that section. And you will have 2 minutes to speak, and Benali will wave like this when you have 30 seconds left. So we're trying not to actually physically interrupt you, because with Zoom, physical interruptions with time delays and things can just be a bit of a nightmare, and you end up wasting kind of 10 or 15 seconds of your precious time. So we are, Benali, have I covered everything? Yes, excellent. So we're going to kick off with the international coordinator candidates. Those are Alex Horn and Owen Schaefer, who are standing as a job share. We have Frank Sheridan, we have Claudine Letzai, we have Alice Hubbard and Sam Murray, who are also standing as a job share. So to start off with, we have Alex Horn and Owen Schaefer, who now have 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm Alex Horn. I'm going to start. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Alex Horn. Irvin Schaefer and myself are standing for the role of international coordinator because we feel we have a lot to offer the Green Party. We are truly international. Together we speak 4 languages fluently: English, French, German, and Spanish. This just gives us a deeper insight into other cultures and international current affairs. We'll be able to actively participate in meetings online or face-to-face in 4 different languages with sister parties across the globe, surely a huge advantage for this role. We have a lot to learn from their successes. I'm half Danish, half Trinidadian. As a BME candidate, I bring real diversity to this role at a time when the Green Party really need more BME representation. I will also look out for women's and disabled people's rights across Europe and the globe. I'm highly organised, creative and innovative. If elected, I will seek to set up a European Greens of Colour and a European Greens business group. For true internationalism and multilingualism, a key part of this role, vote for Alex Horn and Irvin Schaefer. Over to Irvin. Irvin, you're on mute. Irvin, you're on mute.
Okay, I'm Irvin Schaefer. I really want the Green Party to be the party that gets it on climate change, on the Green New Deal, on tackling austerity, fairness in society, and I also want to see the international response of other countries with strong Green parties already in power or in power positions of influence manage these points. I want us to be relevant, I want us to be honest, I want us to encourage learning from other international parties. I think there's a benefit of communicating in their languages, and I think our European...
I'm afraid we're up for time.
Okay then, and there's a state of lethargic indifference which we want to overcome about Europe. Communication information is hugely important. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Owen. Our next candidate is Frank Sheridan, and you have 2 minutes starting now.
Thank you very much, and a big shout out to London Green Party, and thanks so much for putting on these hustings and sparing your Sunday afternoon as well. We really appreciate everything that's gone into putting this together. I'm Frank Sheridan. I was actually born in London, but I don't tell many people that because I actually grew up in South Yorkshire. That's not the kind of thing you can proclaim up there. I'm here for the role of international coordinator. I have 15 years international experience. I have network development experience. I've been working across different communities in multiculturalism. I've been working for climate NGOs throughout the world, as well as managing networks to do with climate change, as well as attending the international conferences. I'm going to cut to the chase. There's no time. There's no time left at all. We're in a climate emergency. We're in a social justice emergency. We need to make action happen now. According to IPCC report 1.5, we should have halved emissions by 2030. We haven't done that. We're nowhere near doing that. There is not the international commitment. There is not the international oversight. And to be honest, there's a divorce of international cooperation at that level. This is the time for us, the Green Party, as an international group of people, to come together and really galvanize change. We have no choice. You can see behind me, it's the side I'm mirrored, 2021, the year that decides the future. Why? Because next year, we could have enacted a green recovery to the pandemic and pushed through some huge social and climate policies and actions that will really put us on the road to that 2030 roadmap. Next year, the UK is holding COP26. We need to get a result at that COP. Since 2015, they've all been a damp squib. The last one was also a damp squib. We've got some big issues. We know there's big issues at the leadership level, internationally through government. We have to make a change at that level. With my experience, I've been used to coordinating networks on a citywide level here in the UK, in developing countries and international level. I work for Climate Action Network, a coordination of over 1,200 NGOs, and I've attended the COPs in the past. I know what it takes to make change there. I've got the network and I've got the skills. I'm a change maker. I want to use my leadership, my vision and my integrity to bring everyone together, connect the grassroots and the local in your communities in London, around the UK, so that we can be the beacon that pushes through COP26 as a success for us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we now move on to Claudine, let's say. Claudine, you have 2 minutes starting now.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Claudine Litzai, standing for International Coordinator for the Green Party. It is actually quite key and important to really stand for this position. We have a crisis of COVID pandemic that's actually across the world, impacting more Global South than it does anywhere else. We have climate issues that are impacting more the Global South than anywhere else. The solutions are being brought in from the West. It can't be right. Really, I think we need to actually be having more globally resourced grassroots level efforts to try and actually deal with the problems. My effort will be to actually really looking at our diaspora here in London. Huge multinational peoples live around here. We should actually be engaging with them, really bringing them forth, sorting out those problems. What my issues are with international organizations, they have not actually come and actually resolved any of the problems. Charities have been found wanting. Big corporations have been found wanting. They're not actually following the protocol that have been set by human rights business principles. The governments are not enforcing anything. At international level, it's even worse. So really, we need to actually have a grassroots way of actually dealing with our issues. We need to bring COSIDE into law. We need to actually really establish all those issues. All I'm trying to say is that choose me as your choice, not someone that will actually be looking to do things the same that have been always been done. You're looking at someone that actually looking to do something different. Thanks, Benali. I always get disturbed by that. Just one last thing. We have the greatest opportunity to really deal with inequality. Choose someone that will actually do that. I have proven it. I lecture in law. I'm a human rights activist. I have human rights law background. Look, you need someone like me in that room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claudine. And now finally, we have, for the international coordinator role, we have Alice Hubbard and Sam Murray. I don't know how you're planning to use your time, but it starts now.
Thanks, Caroline. So Sam and I joined the Green Party because we believe that nobody is illegal and that we must act across borders to tackle the climate emergency. If elected, we want to make the case that international work is important to everything we do as a party. We need to think and work differently to extend our green networks in the global south and to give voice to those facing the impacts of climate change now. I'm currently the international coordinator on GPEX, and Sam is a member of the international committee. We have a vast experience of international work, having run over 10 international training sessions, developed resolutions at more than 5 European Green Party councils, and having sat on executive committees for Global Young Greens and European Young Greens. We've both led a dynamic programme of international work in the party, running projects with Greens in East Africa, North Macedonia, Albania, and working with Roma and LGBTIQA+ organisations. In the last 2 years, we've improved internal party structures to make them more fit for purpose in delivering international work.
If elected, we want to do 3 things. First of all, amplify our party's voice on the international stage, influencing change through our place in the European Green Party and Global Greens, and campaigning for re-election at COP26. Number 2, open up and democratise international activity to better connect you and your local parties to international work. And number 3, extend our commitments to equality and social justice, leading campaigns on social rights and just transition, and ensuring we represent the diversity of the party. To deliver this, we want to work closely with the International Committee, but we also want to work with you. And I hope after today, you will feel inspired to get involved in international work. Working across borders means we as a party can achieve meaningful change. And if we choose to act boldly now, we can create a better future for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you. So we're going to move on now to the campaigns coordinator candidates. Could Britta Goodman, she's doubling up with, fantastic, you're there, excellent. So we have the candidates for campaigns coordinator are Britta Goodman, Daniel Laycock and Hannah Graham, and we're going to start with Britta, and you have 2 minutes now.
Hi, I'm Britta Goodman. I'm based in Hounslow in London. I'm the current campaigns coordinator in JobShare with Caroline Yu, and I'll be standing again and again for climate change. So Caro and I have developed a climate change campaign that fits neatly in with elections and has the main purpose to empower local parties to lobby their councils, mainly there where we have green councillors already, so that they can maximize the output of the climate action plans where climate emergencies have been declared. That functions wonderfully well. We have seen that in Bristol, for example, in Bruton and several places. Unfortunately, so far we have not been given the staff support we need. That is, and this is, I think, relevant for all of us who are standing. At the moment, campaigns is basically the back end of the bus, because there's a prevailing opinion that campaigns is not helping elections. So basically, we're coming very, very short in support. That is something that needs to change. So we virtually have no campaigning infrastructure. We need to rebuild that. And I think we have all been enthused and amazed by the extraordinary, basically, rise of people over the past 18 months. And I think this is the opportunity also when we are restructuring campaigns, that we're making sure that we get a diverse and broad, basically, platform for the people for the members of the Green Party, so that we make, is that 30 seconds or the end? So basically, run a climate change campaign, but make sure that we're getting that we're getting the diversity that we need, and that we are starting to link up with all the campaign organizations now in the background, that we can, on that basis, start to run all the campaigns that are representing our policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfectly timed, Britta. And our next candidate is Daniel Laycock. You've got 2 minutes.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you to London Green Party for organising today's hustings, and thank you all for coming. So my name is Daniel Laycock, and I'm the current Deputy Coordinator for the East of England. I was the parliamentary candidate in the 2019 general election, and also I was the campaign organiser for the Bury St Edmunds constituency in the last election, where I led that election and campaign. I joined the party in 2018 after feeling politically homeless, being in the Lib Dems for 6 years. My experience is highly varied, from mainly in local, regional and national campaigns and elections, but we've got only 10 years left. We've got 10 years left, and the time and the clock is ticking. We need to act, and act now, on our campaigns. We need our campaigns committee up and running. I know it's currently been approved by GPEX to be up and running again, with some time for it not being up and running. But we need more than that. We need our Greens elected up and down the country, on all levels of government, and that's why I'm standing to be the next campaigns coordinator. We've got 2 global crises, a health emergency and the climate crisis. We know there's a better hope for a better world and a greener future that will secure for generations to come. But we need campaigns that will be effective, inclusive, transformative, winnable and powerful to see radical, forward-thinking and eco-socialist policies come to fruition. With my experience in volunteering in the charity sector on local national campaign and elections, we're also working for the Green Party as campaigns coordinator, where we saw the 3rd biggest vote share across the country after Brighton. I have the experience and skills to ensure we campaign for policies that are in space, from the Green New Deal, proportional representation, 4-day working week, opportunities for young people, LGBTIQA+ issues, where we campaign on and win on issue-based campaigns in and out of elections, and use campaigns to fundraise for the party to increase our campaigns capacity. So let me as your #1 campaigns coordinator on the 3rd of August.
Brilliant, bang on with the timing. Thank you very much. And we now move to Hannah Graham. Now, Hannah, Benali, there's a note from Hannah in the chat that she's got bad bandwidth, so can't see you waving. So put a note in the chat when it's 30 seconds, please. Okay, so Hannah, over to you. You've got 2.
Thanks everyone, and thank you so many for coming as well. My name is Hannah Graham and I'm standing to be the Green Party's next campaigns coordinator. Really apologise about my internet today, it's just one of those things. From its very start, our party emerged from powerful social movements and campaigns for progressive change. Campaigning is and always has been a vital thread in the fabric of our party and our movement, and it's in my blood as well. I've been a party member for 6 years. I'm a former Young Greens co-chair and I'm a parliamentary candidate. I come from Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire, but the last 4 years I've lived in London, where I've stood as a local elections candidate. I'm on the candidate list for next year's London Assembly elections as well. It was defending free education on my university campus that inspired me to take action, first and foremost, against the growing intergenerational and cultural divides in our society. After being elected to the role of Vice President of my student union, I led the free education strikes on campus. We brought 400 Teesside students down to London, and I joined the Green Party, and I stood as the first ever Green Party parliamentary candidate in Middlesbrough in 2015. I'm an experienced policy specialist and campaigner. I've got 8 years experience in professional campaigning roles in youth policy, gender equality and international development. Currently, I work full-time as an advocacy manager for the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. And in this role, I work with young women and girls from all over the world to give them the tools that they need to inspire and influence decision makers on issues that disproportionately affect them. That's things like malnutrition, gender-based violence, menstrual health, gendered injustices. I believe the Green Party campaigns must be evidence-based, relevant, and formed through interactions and partnerships with pressure groups and civil society. I'm a progressive and radical campaigner, a believer in direct action, and an advocate for diversity and inclusion of marginalised groups. Recent attacks on our basic human rights have showed us that more than ever, we need campaigners to face threats head-on and mobilise people for a progressive alternative. And I'm the right person to do that. So elect me on August the 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah, and absolutely bang on time as well. Now, we're going to move on to our next category of candidates, but I just wanted to, because I know Britta has some childcare issues, we're going to, when we've heard from all the candidates, there are then going to be 2 questions which come to all candidates to be answered within 2 minutes. But Britta, if it helps, we could do the campaigns coordinator candidates at the very end, which would give you a longer period of childcare, if that's helpful. Yep. Okay. So keep your phone on you. I will text you when we're nearly coming back to you. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Now, our next candidates that we're going to be hearing from are the publications coordinator candidates. That is Danny Keeling, Jack Lennox, and we've had apologies from Julia Lagut. So Danny Keeling, you have 2 minutes starting now.
Brilliant. Hi everyone, my name's Danny Keeling. I'm currently chair of Newham Green Party, and I have been for the last 2 years. I was also the parliamentary candidate for West Ham last year. My background is within visual art and design, and I was creative director for more than 6 years for multiple print and digital publications. Furthermore, within that time, I've also given lectures at arts universities in relation to publishing. I think it's important that we ensure the platforms we have available are used to their best ability, and we ensure quality and uniform in our content, giving local parties the skills, accessibility and resources they require. We have a real big opportunity with these GPEX elections, and that's why I wish to ask you for your vote as publications coordinator to give all local parties, committees, liberation and affiliated groups the resources, support and platforms to bring our key principles to constituents.
Caroline, you're on mute.
Sorry, you've got a bit more time if you want it, Danny, but you're
Sure.
You're good.
So some of my key policies are based around giving people the resources they need and require. So I believe that we should give a further voice to our and diversity in our media coverage. This includes the Young Greens, Greens of Colour, the LGBTIAQ+ Greens, and other affiliated groups too. Local parties should have access to the resources and the required training, and it should be a lot easier for them to get it, including putting together leaflets, putting together publishing items, and actually having access to other platforms such as even blogging or podcasting, etc. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Our next candidate to hear from, and you have 2 minutes, is Jack Lennox. You have 2 minutes starting now.
Thank you, Caroline. Hello, my name is Jack Lennox, and I'm standing as your candidate for election to the role of Publications Coordinator on the Green Party Executive. Coming from a career in digital publishing, I think I have the ideal skill set to lead the Green Party in its transition to new and better digital publications. I think technology is where we can really punch above our weight. I joined the Green Party in 2015, having increasingly felt that climate breakdown was the greatest challenge facing humanity. Today in 2020, the situation couldn't be any starker. The next 10 years are the most important for the climate movement and by association, the Green Party. As we move into an unprecedented electoral cycle in the wake of the global pandemic, Sorry, I've got we need to hit the ground running. A vital part of our electoral strategy is our publications, whether these take the form of printed manifestos and membership communications or websites for candidates, activists and local parties. If elected, I will work with the digital team to enable activists to easily produce microsites and digital publications on our new WordPress infrastructure that I helped set up. I will work with our elections team to dramatically improve accessibility to our Target to Win resources with a specific elections microsite for audio and video tutorials and materials available in ebook formats. And finally, I would seek to return Greenworld to print alongside the website. What we currently spend on the website alone represents very poor value for money. Greenworld still has a relatively healthy budget and a print issue is entirely feasible. I would seek to produce 2 printed issues of Greenworld per year to be published alongside our spring and autumn conferences, and for excess copies to be sent out to new members when they join, with a longer term goal of a subscription service for members who wish to receive the publication by post. I'm a leader in the realm of sustainable software engineering, having spoken at numerous conferences on the topic, including at the world's largest WordPress conference in Berlin last year. I currently serve as the membership secretary for Allerdale and Copeland Green Party in Cumbria, and I was our party's parliamentary candidate for Copeland in 2017 and 2019. I'm also currently studying part-time for an MSc in Sustainability and Behaviour Change at the Centre for Alternative Technology in Wales. Please vote Jack Lennox for Publications Coordinator.
Thank you very much, Jack, and perfectly on time. Now, just double checking with Benali that Julia Lagut has definitely sent apologies and not coming. Okay, so that's it for Publications Coordinator, and we're now moving on to candidates for Trade Union Liaison Officer. We have 3 candidates. We have Kefensi Dennis, we have Theo Simon, and we have a job share candidate, Matthew Hull and Paul Valentine. So we'll start with Kefensi Dennis, who has 2 minutes starting now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kefensi Dennis, and I am the membership officer for the Birmingham Green Party, as well as the regional officer for the Greens of Colour. The reason that I'm standing for Trade Union Liaison Officer is because I want to see it be talked about in an important position. I feel like it's kind of neglected and kind of like the role is kind of there. We're not stereotypically seen as a party that's associated with trade or friends to trade, even though we should be. So I feel like it's an important role to stand for, because it is vital to a lot of people, especially with what's happening now with the pandemic. I have 3 campaign policies that I work with, basically. The first one is to make sure that with all the liaison groups, trade unions, cooperatives, and that we work within the New Deal and incorporate those groups into it. Second one is to strengthen ties with cooperatives, because I feel like they're as spoken about much. And my third is to expand the use of mutual aid schemes. I think they're a really important tool that we could use, especially within trade unions. And I feel like our party's just stereotypically not associated with it. It's kind of seen as more of a Labour thing, and I want to change that. I want to make sure that people know that we're there for them and we're there fighting for them as well. How long do I have left? That's what I was time.
3 seconds.
Time's now, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. And our next candidate on the list is Theo Simon. So Theo, you've got 2 minutes starting now.
Hi, I'm Theo and I'm from Somerton and Frome, East Mendip. I was the parliamentary candidate twice in the general election, and we did very well. The first time we came from nothing to 9% of the vote. I'm a Unite member in the manufacturing sector. I've been a shop steward in the NHS for 2 years. I was a Transport and General Workers Union recruiter and organiser among youth trainees. And I've organised solidarity work with striking miners, Liverpool dockers, and I was involved in the Vestas factory occupation where the workers became unionised by RMT. I think that we're at a moment now emerging from this COVID crisis into an economic crisis overshadowed by a climate crisis and ecological crisis, which is really our moment as a party to make our ideas accessible, to reach out to as many people as we can, but to recognize that right now working people and working class communities in a few months are going to be absolutely fighting for their lives. The screws are going to be tightened on all of us. The services are going to be getting cut. There's going to be wage freezes, job losses, people fighting for their jobs or being put down into much more insecure jobs and precarious jobs. And they need to be organised. And we as a Green Party need to be there standing alongside and fighting alongside, not with a view to convincing people that we're right, but just to show solidarity, because that is how we get support from people in their workplaces and in their communities. We show our relevance now. I think that millions of people in this country understand what we're saying about the climate and the environment, and they care about it. They can't leave work. Their first and foremost is their personal survival right now and the survival of their families. And if we're there showing our relevance in the workplace, then we can really build something and become a political voice for working people, which is what we need to do. So the role of trade union officer is.
Well done, thank you very much. And our third candidate for Trade Union Liaison Officer is Matthew Hull and Paul Valentine. You have 2 minutes starting right now.
Cool, thanks Caroline. Right, hello everyone, hi. I'm Paul Valentine, and of course somewhere on your screen is Matthew Hull as well. We are standing for Trade Union Liaison Officer because we think we've got the skills and experience to really thrive in this role in the party. Personally, I am currently the Trade Union Liaison Officer for the Green Party. I've been there for the past couple of years, and certainly in relation to unions, I've got tons of experience. I'm currently on Equity Council. I've just this week been re-elected. I was the Equity Young Members Councillor, and I've now got onto the general list. I'm also the chair of PCS, South Bank Centre, and of course this being a London hustings, you'll probably know all about the South Bank being the hub of arts and also the hub of exploitation, where there's lots of executives who are at the National Theatre and South Bank Centre who are earning six-figure sums, and all the rest of us are being made redundant. So I'm part of the charge that is leading against that right now, because I've been made redundant along with hundreds of other of my colleagues at the moment. So that's a lot of fun. And then certainly in the Green Party, I've had lots of experience being with the Young Greens. I used to be the trade union liaison for them. I've been on the Green Party trade union group as well. So do feel we've got a breadth of experience there. And I'm going to hand over to Matthew now to take the other minute.
Thanks very much, Paul. I'll be very brief. I'm Matthew. I live in Camden in North London, and I can't wait to serve as the Green Party's Trade Union Liaison Officer alongside Paul. I'm currently a rep for Unite in their community, youth and non-profit sector. I'm also a founding member of the Independent Workers Union of Great Britain Charity Workers Branch. I've also served as the Young Greens Treasurer for the past year, and I was previously the London Young Greens co-chair. We can't wait to transform the Green Party's relationship with trade unions, because we know that being deeply embedded in and accountable to the institutions of working people is absolutely essential to achieve our goals, and we can't wait to set out our plans for you in this hustings.
Perfectly timed, thank you very much indeed. So we now have our final group of candidates, who are the Policy Development Coordinator candidates. We have 4 candidates: Liam McClelland, Vix Lothian, Mick Gregg and Sam Alston. So Liam, you have 2 minutes starting now.
Hi, this is Liam. I'll just do a brief audio description for those who are listening and not watching. I'm sat in my living room. Occasionally I'm getting joined by my cat, so if I look like I'm getting distracted, coming over to say hello to me and ask me what I'm doing. I'm standing for Policy Development Coordinator because I have the experience and skills within policy development, not only just within the policy development of the new drugs policy that we adopted at Newport Conference, but also at the European level with the Federation of Young European Greens, where we unanimously passed, well, 99% passed a policy supporting precarious and gig economy workers. I've worked very hard with the Drugs Policy Working Group, and we're continuing to do a lot of work in bringing our short-term policies to councils where we either form part of the governing body or we have voices and representation on there. And I think now is the perfect time to be doing that, because we've got to earn back some respect from the voters. And by showing what we can do at a local level through implementing our policies, I believe that will show our voters what we can do at a national level. And we may see those general election results improve. I would like to focus on making policy development more accessible. When we started the Drugs Policy Working Group, we didn't really know what we were doing. We were all passionate about improving drugs policies. We were passionate about bringing lived experience either through profession or through myself being a recovering drug addict, so that those who sometimes policy misses because you've not got their voice was actually being heard. I'd like to see that improved across the party. I myself am reliant on disability and welfare benefits, so I'd like to see more inclusions of those within our policy structures. You know, how can we get people from working class backgrounds to events like Policy Fest? How can we increase the access funds?
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our next, so I gather Vix Lothian and Mick Gregg have sent apologies. Is that right, Benali?
Vix, but she was juggling quite a few things, so we might have lost her.
Okay, do you want to see if you can get hold of her? But if she wants to join, we'll take her in. But otherwise, Sam Alston, you have 2 minutes starting right now.
I should say at the start, I'm standing as a job share with Peter Sims, who unfortunately sent his apologies as well. He can't be here, but if he was here, he's about a head taller than me, and would be very enthusiastic. He's been involved in writing a tax and fiscal policy paper, parliamentary candidate, and involved in the Green Jobs report produced by Greenhouse. I've been involved in various Young Greens groups. I've been involved in various campaigns around the country, including recently I'm very happy to serve as a non-portfolio officer on the London Young Greens Committee with a number of people who I can see here. And I was also a campaign manager in Oxford for the 2019 general election, where I got very wet. And we also did lots of other stuff trying to deliver leaders. And this, we hope we can combine our experience of policy delivery and campaigning to produce really accessible policy. Our kind of 3 key things we're standing on are that we want to do the job well. We think we have the skills and balance between us to do the job well, to make sure it's accessible, to make sure policy is accredited, and to make sure we can use the policy process to push forward the policy we need to in changing times. But we also want to reform the policy process. We think it can be better. We want it to be more accessible, to have less extensive policies for state society, but clearer and more focused, and more useful and accessible to candidates. And to the other end, we also want to improve dissemination of policy throughout the party. So events such as the one London Greens ran last week, where they were looking at how the work of the are involved in feeding into how we create our policy. And those are our 3 things. We want to improve dissemination, we want to do the job well, and we want to reform the policy process quite dramatically.
Thank you very much indeed, and beautifully timed. I'm now going to invite Vix Lothian, who has just joined us. It looks like she's on the beach, which is
I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear me. I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear me. That's the only problem. So I might have to type something into the chat box, which might be easier for people to understand me through that way. Do you think that'd be possible for me to do it that way?
I mean, you come across quite clearly, but either option.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. Well, I'll just do this bit and I'll see how I get on.
Okay. You've got 2 minutes. Two minutes.
I'll probably be shorter than that. Yeah, so it's our policies, which are the USP that we have, and linking our strategy and our leadership and our campaigns and our communications and our electoral success. but it needs strategic management to be able to guide it, to herd it, to cultivate it, and to develop our policy, and not just developing old policy, but also new policy. And that needs to ensure that our leaders and our spokespeople are equipped with strong and dynamic policy. And as a national spokesperson for education, and also being the target candidate, I feel I'm in a really good, strong position to be able to bridge that internal-external workings, which I think is really central to developing the best policies we possibly can. So my priorities would be to oversee proposals for a new policy process and procedures which are well underway to be able to do that. To monitor and review the policies for sustainable society, especially like wildlife, crime and justice, peace and defence, which are hopefully in the process of being overviewed, but there are gaps in education, in social care, in Europe as well. Our members, that's really important. Policy work is essential to them, as well as policy, absolutely brilliant, that's the years, and development of a policy network. Policy Development Coordinator is the most important job, and it drives our party, and it'd be an absolute privilege to take on that responsibility next year.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Vix. I think either you've frozen or you've finished, but that was a clear pitch, so I'll take it that you've finished. So that leaves us at the end of all our opening statements, and we're pretty tight for time. So I've just been having a bit of a chat with Benali in the chat box privately, and we've got one question for you all to answer. And you will have 1 minute to answer this question. And the question is, if you are elected, how do you envision supporting London Green Party to deliver their most successful elections ever at the London Assembly and Mayor elections next year? And if you can answer it from the perspective of the role that you are applying for on GPEX. I'm going to post that question into the chat so that you've all got hold of it, all the panelists. And we're going to start with the international coordinator candidates. So Alex Horne and Erwin, you have 1 minute between you. I don't know if you're going to do just one of you answering, but you are on air now and your time is starting.
Alex, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So what we intend to do is to use our language skills to tap into the knowledge of the recent wins in France and Ireland and across Europe to really find out how they won their elections. And because we've got language skills, we can really literally speak their language and have a stronger relationship with them. And we will use that and transfer that knowledge to the London Green Party. I think we have a lot to learn.
Okay, we can learn from other countries how to be relevant in local and in national policies. London is hugely important in the international context for the UK, and we have a lot to offer in London to Europe. We have a lot to learn. I think we can crack that. We can know that we are relevant to London, and the international outlook is hugely beneficial.
Thank you very much. Our next candidate to answer is Frank Sheridan. Frank, you've got a minute.
All right, thanks very much. That's a great question. And London, you need to be successful next year. We need to be successful next year. Ultimately, we need comprehensive and joined up thinking that connects each local community with the global community. As someone with my international experience, working and personal, I want to take the momentum that we have within our network and ensure we give you the resources that you need for success there. I have 3 game plans as part of my Should I Be Successful story in the role. That is to empower and motivate the network and share and connect skills and experiences throughout Europe and the world. Again, make sure we get a green recovery and COP26 success next year. The spotlight will be on the UK, the spotlight will be on us, and the spotlight will be on you, London. I want to work alongside you to see what you need, give you the skills, successes, and experiences that you need across our network to really galvanise momentum. If we have seats in the London Assembly, if we have a Green Mayor, we're in a good position to put a lot of pressure on the government to make sure COP26 is a massive success. And as we know, it has to be. We have not got room to fail. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Beautifully well timed. So our next person is Claudine. Claudine Lapsai.
Hi, being a member of London Green Feds and having actually had conversations with our London Mayor candidate, Sean, I think it's actually quite important to appeal to the VLE groups in London, and that's the only way we're going to win. Grassroots, going back to where actually it matters. I think the most things that actually seems to be the problems is that we're using, I'm not sure how far Target to Win is used, but I think we need to actually really appeal to people in London about how the Green Party will help with their problems. And I'm happy to actually help actually bring that about, because without appealing to what the issues are in London, people won't actually look to see a mayor in the Green Party as a Green Party candidate. So we have an opportunity there, and I know Caroline and Sean have done quite a lot of work with London Assembly at the moment, and I think actually we need to actually build on that, and we need to actually be thinking long-term impact. Sorry, how do we impact local communities which are working class as well as actually BME?
Thank you very much, Claudine. And our next candidate is JobShare, Alice Hubbard and Sam Murray. You've got 1 minute starting right now.
Okay, so I'm going to answer this one. Building on the networks that we've created and the contacts we developed over the last 2 years, we've kind of got 3 points that we want to do for the London Assembly elections. So first of all, we want to develop a strategy to get out Commonwealth and EU voters who are eligible to vote in these elections, have regular meetings with Green Party branches that are in London, and develop key messaging that are relevant to those particular people. Second of all, to bring in expertise and support from the European Green Party. They have great campaigners, for example, Sieben Kuistra, who is kind of credited with the Green Wave, that we could bring in and get our campaign teams to talk to. We also want to connect Sean with other Green mayors around Europe, such as Famke Halsens in Amsterdam, explore mentorship for candidates, and then finally have webinars inviting other Green campaigns officers to share their campaign tips and tricks as well. I've actually been working with Emily as part of this campaign at the moment, so we've already had discussions with the campaign team on what this will look like and databases to support it. So this would kind of be a continuation of what we've already had.
Thank you very much. Perfectly timed again. And we're now moving on to, so those were the candidates for International Coordinator, and you're now going to hear from the Publications Coordinator candidates. So Danny Keeling and then Jack Lennox. So Danny Keeling, you have a minute starting now.
Brilliant. Hi, everyone. I believe we need to connect with the individual local parties within London. For example, here in Newham, we have specific campaigns such as against Silvertown Tunnel, campaigns against City Airport and the MSG Sphere in Stratford. And if we can produce material that is targeted, then we're going to be able to connect the voters on a closer level. I also believe to keep all the material uniform and of quality, we should have the senior design and publications person in GPHQ create all of the assembly members, all of their leaflets. For example, in each area, I don't know if everybody else is aware, there's a, we have our list candidates and then we have our other candidates. And as there's so many candidates, I believe that all the material should be made uniform and of high quality.
Thank you very much, and perfectly timed. And we are now going to hear from Jack Lennox on this question that is in the chat box about how you envisage supporting London Green Party to deliver their most successful elections ever at the London Assembly and Mayor elections next year. You've got 1 minute starting now.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, as it happens, I was actually already due to be involved in Sian's mayoral campaign this year, providing digital support and tools such as an interactive rent calculator for the website, but due to personal circumstances, I had to withdraw. So I'm grateful that I now have a second chance to help. And I'll be even happier to be able to help both in a voluntary capacity and as the publications coordinator on GPEX. I think there are so many ways that I'll be able to contribute to both the mayoral and the London Assembly campaigns. I want to create an easily reproducible platform for individual candidates to have their own websites comprising unified resources like an interactive rent calculator. At the last round of elections, the team produced one of the best manifestos, the London team, sorry, produced one of the best manifestos that I've seen from the Green Party. I'd love to see us aim to do even better this time round, especially when it comes to an accompanying interactive digital experience. The print one from last time was fantastic. I think also getting a printed Greenwald out ahead of the elections will allow us to send out a rallying cry to the members across London. And I think that's, yeah, I think that's it. I mean, there's everything else that I want to do to help, I think is going to be really beneficial. And obviously, if we can really hit the ground running as we enter that electoral cycle, I think that will be great.
Time.
Great, yes. Once again, bang on time. So the next group that we're going to hear from are the Trade Union Liaison Officer candidates. So if elected to be Trade Union Liaison Officer, how do you envisage supporting London Green Party to deliver the most successful elections ever at the London Assembly and Mayor elections next year? So Kafensi Dennis, you have 1 minute and we're starting now.
Hello, Ariana. Yes, Ariana, so it's Ariana.
Would it help?
Yes, I would, on twofold. Sorry, she's and twofold. I've look into one, showing solidarity with those trade unions who've obviously been furloughed at the moment, and two, continue to show support and solidarity when they eventually get back into jobs. It's important that we show community spirit and get into those areas that are likely to vote with us and for us when we work with them in those mayoral elections coming up. So it's just important that from a trade standpoint, cooperative and affiliation groups, that we're sure that we're there for them within the London area, and that we'll continue to be them with them all the way up to the election and afterwards as well. So that's what I want to do, just to show that we've been there, we will be there, and we're going to be there as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And the next candidate is Theo Simon. If you've got 1 minute starting now.
I think the key is going to be getting unions, organised workplaces routing for our candidates for the Assembly. And why would they do that? They'll do that because if we do what I would do nationally, which is make sure we've got trade union liaison officers in every branch that we can, identify our active members, and then use that intelligence to find out where the important issues are right now in London, and then get those candidates, feed that into candidates, and get the candidates to show their support, to express their support, to go along to picket lines, to go along where workers are being organised in precarious jobs, to go along to show support for firefighters, to really make it clear that we are now, under new leadership, we are a party for working people in London, and use our job as trade union liaison is to build those links and feed that intelligence in. One of the key ways I should have mentioned before is through the trades councils, which I'm a member of my local trades council. I know that people are in London. I think London's got a good number of union members in the Green Party. We've got to make that an active living relationship, feeding intelligence back, and then telling people they've got to get out there and speak to the unions.
That's great, thank you very much. And our next candidate is Matthew Hull and Paul Valentine as a job share, and you have 1 minute starting now.
Great, thank you. Yeah, well, me and Matthew are sort of already doing that process in a lot of ways. So, for example, my local party is Lambeth. I've introduced all the councillors to the local trade council, which is the representatives of all the trade unions in the local area. And by building those links, we're already showing that solidarity with working people. So it's a gradual work in progress, and people remember that, and that will make a massive difference when it comes to our elections. Let me hand over to Matt for the other 30 seconds.
Thanks very much, Paul. Yeah, so as Paul says, like, this isn't just an ambition for us like it is for other candidates. It's something we're already doing. You know, we want to make sure that candidates and organisers across London are supporting worker struggles and are on the front line in those struggles as well. I've already been doing this a bit. You know, I've been supporting the Independent Workers Union in London when they've been supporting medical couriers who've gone on strike during COVID. I've held political education and training sessions with United Voices of the World, who support outsourced and migrant workers in London as well. And I want to work with community organisations like Save Latin Village, Latin Elephant as well, other examples across London, but that's what we want to be doing.
Thank you very much. And just to reassure Theo, Sian Berry and I do both work with unions. I've been involved with, in contact with Paul over issues around arts workers ahead of economy committee sessions. I've been in very close contact with the bus workers during the whole COVID crisis. So those links are part of our everyday work. So there's a lot to build on there, but I just wanted to reassure you.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's me taking chair's privilege and jumping in, but I just wanted to make that absolutely clear. So the next group we're going to go to are the policy development coordinator roles, and then finally we'll come to the campaigns coordinator roles. So policy development coordinator, we have Liam McClelland, then Vix Lovian, and then Sam Alston will be speaking. So Liam McClelland, you have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. I'm already supporting Sian's mayoral campaign through the work I'm doing with the Drugs Policy Working Group. We're actually pulling together a load of resources to support her campaign. But I do think it's really important that we continue doing that and like highlighting issues that affect people living across the whole of London rather than borough by borough, because there can be, you know, something that is happening in Brixton compared to something that's happening in Muswell Hill are going to possibly be completely different. But issues like stop and search is something that we could really be pulling on and using our drugs policy to show how legalising or using police and crime commissioners to change target-driven policing could improve the lives of majority Black people living in London.
Thank you very much. Beautifully timed. And our next candidate, do we still have Vix here? No, I think she may have.
Yes, I'm here.
You are here. Fantastic. You're going.
Vix, it's very breaking up, unfortunately.
Benali, could you send Vix the question via the chat? And could you, and then perhaps Vix could do a brief written answer, which I can read out afterwards. So in which case, we are going to Sam Alston, and your 1 minute starts now.
Excellent. So I think in many ways, London has one of the strongest policy processes for writing its manifesto of anywhere in the country, which is brilliant. I think some of the things we can do nationally and also support the local is about ensuring, particularly at the coming conference, that we pass policy efficiently and it's detailed and it's useful and how it's relevant to London. And part of that is making it accessible to candidates in the campaign and in a useful manner. Another part of it is about ensuring it has the detail and background that it can stand up to the kind of more vigorous investigation we'll hopefully get as we gain momentum in London and gain more media attention. And that's going to be about supporting the policy network and linking it with local parties and linking with experts to build up and produce that detailed material and linking some of the excellent policy specialists we have in London. Second bit I'm going to talk about is dissemination, that making sure policy is useful and accessible and aware to parties in local area, and that we are able to confidently and happily and enthusiastically talk about it on the doorstep.
That's bang on 1 minute. So thank you very much indeed.
Excellent.
Okay, so we now, I think Vix may be writing an answer to the question, which I can read out for her. So we're going to move to the campaigns coordinator role, where we have 3 candidates, Britta Goldman, Daniel Laycock, and Hannah Graham. And if you can answer the question, so if you are elected to the role of campaigns coordinator, how do you envision supporting London Green Party to deliver the most successful elections ever at London Assembly and mayor elections next May. So Britta Goldman, sorry, you have 1 minute starting now.
It is actually Goodman.
It is Goodman. I thought it was.
So I think since campaigns and electoral campaign, so the main thing here is to blend in. Sian has an excellent team. The main thing is to really just support the team. They know what they're doing, and if they have requests, to just fulfill them. But if there's, for example, that they would like more, let's say they would like to do more climate change, then we could say we inquire with the region, for example, Bristol, on cycling and air quality. Or for example, if from the regions around, are they willing to send people then to help and support for door knocking, all of that. And another thing is it would be a good time to do field research, so that we learn more about the London parties, where they would like to campaign then afterwards, because next election is coming after the election. So
thank you, Britta. That's bang on a minute. So we're going to move on to the next candidate, who is Daniel Laycock.
Thanks, Caroline. So in a minute, what we need to do is a huge opportunity for us. Campaigns and elections are interrelated. So we need to listen to the campaign organiser, Andy Moore, as they've got a strategy for London already. We need to listen to Sian and all the assembly list candidates and the local parties and what they need from a campaign perspective. And also from a central party perspective as well, on how we can support them, provide resources, training, etc. on campaigns, whether that, because there'll be new campaigns and current campaigns coming up with the London Assembly's elections next year. And then we need to work on how we can amplify the London Assembly and mayor elections next year from a campaign perspective, which then can also intertwine with fundraising too, and try and raise more money for the London elections next year.
Thank you very much, and bang on time, just under a minute. So finally, before I read out Vic Lothian's answer, we have Hannah Graham, who is the third candidate for campaigns.
Thanks, Caroline. I ran for the London Assembly list 2 years ago as I really wanted to be a cog in the machine and part of the team that achieves our biggest ever result in the city. And we've got a really, really great shot. And since being elected to the London Assembly list, I've been working with Emma, the London field organiser, on the campaign team to offer dedicated support to local parties, improve delivery schedules of action days, and building momentum. And now we have the unique opportunity to have another year to be able to do more work like this as well and have another go. And as campaigns coordinator, I can give candidates a platform on our channels and opportunities for them to figurehead our campaigns, launching them in communities and raising their profile as well. And we've got some brilliantly diverse London Assembly candidates, worked really hard on that, with lots of direct lived experience of many of the issues in our city. So this is the chance to celebrate that and get them elected.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Hannah, and perfectly on time. I'm just going to read Vix's answer to this question, which is, I've already been supporting Sian Berry through my work with education policy and appearing on her weekly show, Stop In with Sian. Our policies on housing, especially private renters, clean air, youth service cuts, policing and crime, support the London mayoral campaign so well and provide the USP, and the job of the policy development coordinator is to ensure that those policies remain robust to gain us more assembly members in 2021. Now, I'm afraid we are totally out of time. I just want to thank every single one of you candidates for bearing with this process. It's long and slow, and you've had little nuggets of time when you've been able to speak, and you have all really used your time well and allowed us all to learn a lot about you. I've certainly learned absolutely masses about the candidates. You've given me a lot of food for thought about how to use my votes when the time for voting comes. And I just really want to thank every single one of you, because I know that taking this amount of time out of a Sunday it's a big ask, and it's very, very much appreciated. And London Greens are hugely appreciative of the time that you've taken to help us make up our minds about who to vote for in these really important elections. So thank you. I also want to thank Benali, who has been the most fabulous co-host and has helped to keep us all on track. And yes, just thank you, massive. It's really ridiculous. We can't sort of, you know, do massive thank yous, but thank you, all of you. You've been fantastic, and that's it for this afternoon. So thank you very, very much indeed.
Well, thank you.
And thank you, Caroline,
Thank you.
massively for your time too. Really well done.
It's well.
Good to see you all as well.
Always the
Great,
best.
great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.